Yes, that's a deep one, and it would take another lecture to respond it completely, but I like this question. Let me tell you something. As you put it, and this is the title of your gathering, it's the narrative. We need to be clear on our principles, we need to be clear on our way, and we need to be clear on our objectives. So all this is the vision that we have, a risala. And, you know, when we were talking right now about, you know, I studied Islam and I studied the Shia tradition. I know exactly why the question came and what was expected, and I responded in purpose. But to try to come to start a discussion about this differences, that's not the point. I'm not here to discuss this. You are my brothers and sisters in Islam. We are all Muslims. We know the differences. We respect each other. Now we have to be careful with people from outside playing with this and people from within playing with this. So we don't start with this first. We start with the common narrative that we have. And I would say here that on these principles, there is something which is a psychological war diverting us from the essence of the message. But we have to prioritize. We have to be clear on what we want. And yes, the environment has an impact. So now we have many trends and two main attitudes. Some Muslims today, they are so much willing to be accepted by the society here that they are giving up and compromising. In France and in Europe, as much as here, you have some people, they want so much to show that they are Americans, that in fact they are more Americans than the Americans, to the point that we don't know what is kept from their Islamic reference. These people are dangerous. Even though I can understand that they feel that they are in a state of weakness. On the other side, you have people saying, you know what, this is not really our country, so we isolate ourselves from the society, or we don't deal with politics, we don't deal with the current affairs, we just speak about our spirituality, and they isolate. So, from being completely lost to being completely isolated. And this is not both ways are wrong. We need to change this. And it means that we have to be involved as human beings first, and citizens second within this society, and to be clear on the principles that we have. While the whole world would tell you that the rituals, your commitment to your religion is something which is not so important, the most important thing is spirituality, we say no. And this is where we have to be clear on the priorities of our education. They are principles, they are things that are halal, things that are haram, there are things that we do, things that we don't do, there are things that we accept, things that we don't accept, and there is a terminology and we have our words. All this should be part of our education. And every institution in the West, every mosque, wherever you are, we should equip our brothers and sisters with the clear understanding of these principles, the limits, and this is important. Because this is the way you are confident, and this is the best way to protect ourselves. The best protection is confidence. You know, it's not to pretend. Confidence is the best protection. But confidence comes with knowledge. I'm not going to be confident if I don't get the knowledge. And the knowledge has to be adapted to the country here. You know, living here, which type of attacks our children and ourselves are facing every day. Equip your Muslims with the right words, the right understanding, the right principles, the right priorities. This is where we have, it has to do with education and adapted knowledge to the country. Adapted knowledge. Useful knowledge means adapted knowledge to the country. And then we should be involved at the national level in the United States of America by understanding that we have a role to play. which is what I keep on calling contributing and being an added value in this society. Meaning that as a citizen, I keep on repeating this to Muslims. You know what? Stop talking about Islam. They want you to talk about Islam, to put on you some questions, and in fact, you don't talk really about Islam, you respond to some questions that are decided for you to be the questions. Stop it. Now, be citizen and be Muslims. Meaning now, as American Muslims or Canadian Muslims, you should behave as Muslims and surprising the people by talking about everything which is important in this society, which has nothing to do with Islam, apparently. Meaning citizenship, equal rights, equality between men and women, and environment, the health policy, everything is yours. You have to be there. We want to see the distinctiveness of American or Canadian Muslim citizens in the way they behave, they speak, and stop always repeating, we are Muslims. That you are Muslim first is not an answer, because in fact the question is a silly question. What are you first? Of course I am a Muslim, or I'm a Canadian, and I'm an American. If I am in this country, I should be, and this is the way I should be involved, and this is the way you go beyond this inferiority complex, or this psychology always to have to justify yourself. This process, it's a process where it's important to be involved in the society. And to be clear on one thing, and I'm asking you this question because it's important. When the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca, and then when he was in Medina, there is something which was not questioned by any companion and anybody. The fact he was loyal to the place he was living in. He wanted the best for the society. He came in Medina. They were not the first people of his origin, but they all knew when he came in the society, he built the first mosque and he wanted the best for the people. A question for you. Do you want the best for this country? Are you yourself creating a new status, which is foreign citizens? You're citizens, but you think as if you were a stranger. Do you want the best for this society? So if you want the best for this society, you have to be involved. And to be involved means at all levels, education. And stop, again, thinking that the only good Islamic education is to create Islamic schools. Because at the end, the Islamic schools are only going to be useful for 5% of the Muslims here in this country. What are we going to do with the 95%? What are we going to do? We have to be involved in the state school system. In all the systems that we have. What about being a physician? What about being a journalist? What about being an artist in this society? Be in this society as a loyal citizen. A loyal citizen is not, yes, yes, sir. It's not somebody who is saying, talking to power and saying, yes, yes, sir. It's not somebody who is scared of Obama and its administration. Yes, yes, sir. No, a citizen, a confident citizen, is a critical citizen. Critical loyalty means I'm going to check your words with your actions. Mr. President, you told us you are going to stop Guantanamo. Mr. President, you told us that you are going to act against racism. Look at what is happening. The Latinos and the African American in this country are still facing discriminations day in, day out. What have you done? Stop talking about Islam and the policy, because every time we speak about Islam, Muslims come. But when we speak about justice, where are the Muslims? We speak about the environment, where are the Muslims? We have to be citizens in this country. So we have to share. We have to be with others. And I would say that this is something which is essential in our commitment to this society. It means domestic policies, all the policies, we have to be involved. This is the way we liberate ourselves from this intellectual colonialism and alienation that we are facing. But it's not over. Why I'm saying this, because once I came and I had to speak in a convention and say, Tariq, you know what? Avoid speaking about Palestine. I say, sorry? Yes, you know, we want to have good relationship with us. So you want to have good relation at the price of supporting the oppressed? Forget about me. So when you are in this country, your critical loyalty, and for you to remember where you are coming from, your own history, your own life. The great majority of the American and Canadian Muslims are coming from southern countries, and some are converted. If you are an added value, is to make it clear in the United States of America and in Canada that the life of the Canadians and the life of the Americans is as valuable as the life of the Afghani, the Iraqi, the Syrian people, the Libyan people, the Palestinian people. So anyone who is trying to disconnect your take on international issues for the sake of being involved at the domestic is doing it wrong. We are involved in a discussion. The critical loyalty is we are going to be involved in all the discussion here, but we also want to check what you are going there. Because I cannot accept to have democracy for us and supporting dictatorships elsewhere. I don't accept people telling us, you Muslims, you have to be liberal when this very government is dealing with Gulf states that are promoting the literalist reading of Islam that is now creating problems everywhere. So how come you deal with the kings and you blame the followers? I'm not going to accept that. And my take on this is to be courageous enough to say, let me speak about your own contradictions. You are my government. I want to check your actions and your words. And I would say here that you have a very important role. You know that the great majority of the Americans, they don't even know about what is happening. They have a very superficial knowledge about the Middle East, and they are driven by very emotional politics. Very emotional politics. The fact that, for example, they went at war against Saddam Hussein at the beginning was based on a lie. And then the second Gulf War was again a lie. The government is lying and the people are following. Who is going to help the people to be aware? We have to be the added value. We have to say, look, in this country, there are lobbies that are blindly supporting of Israel. And you know what they want to do? They are also nurturing Islamophobia. Why? Because they want the Muslims to disconnect their commitment here with supporting the struggle there, while they are doing the opposite. They are completely consistent between their policy there and their commitment here, by pushing you to disconnect and being connected. The same that are supporting Netanyahu are here supporting Islamophobia, and they push for us to say, oh, we don't have to do. So you know what? To show that you are a good American, you are coming to visit Israel. And when you do this, just after they bombarded and massacred Gaza. But you are a good American, go and visit and show, I don't have a problem with Jews. Of course we don't have a problem with Jews. Anti-Semitism is anti-Islamic. But we have a problem with Israel and its policy. And we don't give up on that, as much as we never have to give up on anything which has to do with injustice. You know why? By the very name of Allah, we Muslims, we are always on the side of the oppressed. Muslims or people of other faith, or people without faith. We are on the side of the Tibetans. We are on the side of the Rohingyas. We are on the side of the Africans. We are on the side of all the oppressed. And we are not going to give up on speaking out. So this is where my critical loyalty here is connected to a world consciousness, coming here and saying to my fellow Americans, you know, I want the best for us. But if we carry on being arrogant, if we carry on in the footsteps of Bush, saying, after they go and killed in Latin America, killed in Afghanistan, killed in Africa, and say, you know what, these people don't like our civilization and our values. No, I'm sorry, Mr. President. It's not that they don't like your principles. They like very much your principles. They don't like your contradictions. They don't like your lies. They don't like your arrogance. And you know what? We, Americans, we don't like it either. So this is where you come with a new sense of political commitment. But be careful with all these new trends in the United States, Muslims, who say we don't deal with politics. They are lying. No politics is politics. It's compromission. Second, the critical loyalty is if you want the best for this country, you better be the moral consciousness of this country. Never forget the African Americans who are treated in a way which is unacceptable. The Latinos, unacceptable. Innocent people in jails today. Innocent people are in jail today in this country. You should remind your local authority that if you cannot do anything in practical terms, at least you are doing something in intellectual terms. You remind the people of what is happening in this country. And you also speak about what is happening in the South. I took a long time for this question because it's a very important one. But this is where you decolonize your mind. This is where it's a process of liberation. I'm writing a book which is a manifesto for an Islamic liberation theology, from what we have to liberate ourselves and to come with a strong position here. But your question is essential. Please, never, never, ever disconnect your spiritual journey from being a citizen at the domestic level and being the voice for the voiceless at the international level. This is what you can bring to this country. No. I have a fatwa. I have a fatwa, no clapping. You know what I like? You know what I like? And I keep on repeating this. You come to a lecture and there is silence. You listen to the lecture and there is silence. No slogan, no clapping, just silence. You think about what you hear. And then you end the lecture and for a while there is silence. And you leave or you wait for the next lecture. Just deal with silence. Deal with silence. We are in a world today very noisy. The desert is silence. And the way we have to think is take advantage of silence. Stop clapping and think more.